I would dig the shit out of that. So yeah, man, you know.
Well, let's get started, everybody.
Yeah.
So, Chris DaBaldo, man, how are you, sir? Thanks for being here again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, yeah.
So we've just left too much on the table for your last interview, and we wanted you on camera. We want everyone to see your pretty face.
Yeah, we don't like leaving things on the table.
So how are your holidays, man?
Oh, good, man. Good, very good. Spent time with family. My son was in town for a few weeks.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Had a really good time with him. He got to see his friends.
And he's in the military?
Yeah, he's in the Air Force, yeah.
And where's he stationed?
He's at Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, it's a hike.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been there a few times.
And he drove, he flew in, but when he went back, he drove his car. So he has his car now. So he's pretty freaking happy about that.
That's cool.
Nice.
That was probably quite a drive, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hike. Yeah.
And he did it all in one push, man.
Wow.
We tried to tell him, or, he's 19, he's an adult. You can't tell him.
Right.
But we tried to direct him.
Sure.
Hey, maybe break it in two, get a hotel or stay with a friend. He tried, but didn't work out that way. So he just kept on going. I was like, damn, dude, you're a stud, man.
What it would be like to be that age again and be able to drive that far. I got to stop and pee every 15 minutes. So
the longest I've done, my longest solo is 14 hours.
Yeah.
14?
From the coast of North Carolina to Memphis.
That's a push.
So I'm getting my kitty cat hairs.
That sucked. That was bad.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I think traveling and touring back in the day, I'm not doing that now, but back in the day, there were times when we do like 19, 20 hours straight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, with breaks, of course.
Yeah.
But, after a while, after 15 hours, man, the eyes get a little wonky.
Oh, yeah.
But you get used to it, We've got friends like, Scott Willis and Matt Healy and stuff like that, and Blaine McGee, and, they're our boys that we grew up with, in Millington and Tipton County and Memphis and stuff. And, they're always the biggest troopers, man.
Yeah.
Hardest workers, been with me since high school, played in bands, worked with our bands, and, always roadied and stuff like that, and engineered and whatnot. So yeah, they would get to driving too. Take up the slack,
Well, look,
that's what
man,
you got to do in a band, man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, as a group, I've been in vans and trucks and buses for hours. But when you're solo by yourself for 14 hours, or like your son did, in my world, it is so much junk food. My diet, the one that's already bad, gets worse. Just to bide the time, and I found if I'm getting sleepy at the wheel. And I'm like, I got to keep going, but my eyes won't stay open.
Yeah, what do you do?
Sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds. Huh?
And just chewing on those.
That's
and
true.
The activity. Bam,
I will back
wakes
that
me
up because
Yeah.
I used to eat sunflower seeds a lot, and I'd keep a big old pouch,
Yeah. Sunflower seeds on one side, tobacco on the other. Chipmunk.
I haven't done that in a while because I take in a lot of salt and sodium as it is, So I guess maybe I was trying to cut back.
After hours of seeds, your skin feels puffy, and you can just tell it's too much salt.
But you're right. Now that you mentioned that, I think back, that works, man. So now the older I get, I just slap the shit out of myself.
Sometimes, crank window down, slap your face. Sometimes that's not enough. Like, it won't wake
the
me
window for me is not enough. The air conditioner, the cold air is not enough. I have to literally slap the shit out of myself 3 times. Like for real. And that usually works.
You get a red mark across your face. Amy's like, your wife Amy's like,
she's like, what are you doing?
Slap you? Who are you hanging out with?
Normally she's right next to me.
Well, she is today off camera.
Yeah.
We welcome Amy to the studio.
My lovely wife, Amy.
All right. Thanks for being here.
She's so awesome. She's my world.
Yeah.
She does so many amazing things. So many amazing things, dude. I'm like the luckiest man that ever lived.
Well, I mean, your family on social looks happy and cool. Yeah. And I follow you all now. I know you finally logged into Facebook after years.
Sorry.
All right, man. Well, look, we want to cover all kinds of stuff here. We want to go back to some of the bands that we missed that are... That was my pinky, y'all. Well, I guess, I mean, are those back, was there love in the air for those bands? But
memories.
But so we missed some pre-Saliva stuff that Jeff, and you coordinated on as far as some bands to talk about.
It was actually post-Saliva. We had all the bands pre-Saliva.
Okay. Egypt Central, that was pre, was it?
No, that was post.
Okay.
So let's hit some of those bands again. Jeff, I'm going to, because you wrote them down and everything.
Well, I mean, you brought us an amazing CD of All Through Scars, which, full disclosure, I didn't know about this band at the time that this took place. I was in a country phase.
Yeah,
I was listening to Clint Black and Tracy Lawrence, so I was out of the rock.
Well, you made me think of when you said that earlier today. Just to give everyone a tease, I want to then we go back into Saliva, like we discussed. I want to talk about the back nine. Of Saliva and where things are.
Start off where you want to.
How it got to where everyone is out and all that stuff. And then I'm dying to know what it was like to play on Wrestlemania. I saw the video. It was awesome. But I want to know how that all came to be and what it was to be there.
You want the PG the public version or the
no.
Behind the curtain version?
We want the Chris DaBaldo version. Yeah. So, but what band do y'all want to hit first?
Well, we can start with Egypt Central.
Well, don't you want to finish with Saliva, like the second half of the Saliva thing?
Let's start there. Let's go. Yeah.
Okay.
So we left off. You guys you got the I can't remember. Did you go with the big company or the smaller one?
Yeah. So we just to be clear, we never had like two options. I mean, that's just what a band has. They have independent or a major. Yeah. We didn't have like two offers, one from each.
Sure.
We had a major label offer.
There you go. Yeah.
So we went with Universal Island Def Jam, Leo Cohen.
Yeah, and we talked about the auditioning process and all the different showcases y'all did and everything, and then broke into early Saliva. Let's start branching in through the career. Now you guys are signed. How many albums did you do with the label? Did
I do with them, or how many did we get signed for?
Let's do the ones you're on.
Let's see. We got signed for 7. I did 5 records with them.
Okay.
That's including the beginning, the Black album, that album that that we did on our own that helped get us signed and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I think I did 4 major label and 1 indie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah. Every 6 seconds, Back Into Your System, Survival of the Sickest, and no, wait a minute. Am I missing something?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, no. You don't remember that? Yeah, every 6 seconds, Back Into Your System. Is that right? Is that number 3? Survival of the Sickest? Yeah. So 4 albums.
Yeah.
Not 5 albums. 4 albums.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Up to 2004.
Sorry about
right?
that.
No, that's all right.
I have a Millington education.
So now you guys are in the heart of the career. The band's cruising along. Let's say album 2 and 3. What is the world? What is your world like? What's the band's world like in the flurry of being a major touring act?
It's a lot of fun, but it's mostly work.
Yeah.
You get up. If you have a day sheet. Usually, if you're on the road, you have printed out day sheets for the next day or the next several days. That's the tour manager's responsibility.
The itinerary.
Yeah, itinerary. You may have a few. You may have anywhere from 1 to the whole band, or just a few members that are supposed to go out and do press and radio and media the next day, and all that's mapped out. There'll be cars there to pick you up and bring you back.
So this is going to be interesting to know when you guys do a full band interview, but I would gather usually the singer talks the most, certain members. What's the dynamic like if the band isn't getting along and then you have to sit through an interview and listen to people talk in the band?
It depends on how professional you are, you know. After a while, you learn to just, stuff things and not let it interfere with, the job at hand.
Because you guys are living together.
Yeah.
This is not, this is not a fun little just side project. This is a career.
Yeah.
And there's 5 guys living together in a very small area.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that there are days when you want to throat punch somebody.
Oh, yeah. There are days when we do throat punch each other.
Yeah.
And there's usually, unless you're like, filthy rich, then you usually probably have crew on that bus too.
Sure.
So you're looking at about 10 guys.
Crazy.
And there's not a lot of space on those buses when you have 10, 12 people.
There's only 12 bunks at most.
Yeah.
Right.
But some of those need to be used for like overflow of luggage and stuff like that.
Yeah. The junk bunk.
Yeah, exactly. Junk bunk.
Yeah, you gotta.
But the singer always gets the biggest bunk. The singer is the tip of the spear.
Or does he get the back lounge to himself?
He could. I'm sure if he really wanted to force it. But thank God I never had a singer that acted like that.
Okay.
He knew the importance of community party room.
Him being
back there.
Josie.
Yeah.
Just anyone.
Yeah, no, he was good. He was the fearless leader.
So what was the brotherhood like in that band? I'm sure like every brotherhood, there's phases, ups and downs.
Yeah.
What was it like in those first couple of years? Was it all honeymoon?
Well, I tell you, if you make it that far, and actually get signed, and get all the other signings and deals and stuff, if you make it that far, chances are really good that y'all are really good friends and that you don't fight much.
Right.
Like Saliva, we didn't really fight much.
Okay.
We had, and that's what the thing that was so cool is the chemistry. Each person brings a certain frequency to the group. And if you take one of those people out or change them out, can it still be good? Sure. But is it the same? No, it's not. It'll never be the same.
Well, you guys shot a really cool music video for one of your biggest hits. And for some reason, the name of the song is escaping me, but it was a power ballad. Mm-hmm. And you guys were on a bus for a lot of that video.
Rest in Pieces.
That's it. Rest in Pieces. Great tune.
Thanks,
and what a great music video, because it showed a lot of that road life.
That's what that's what the director and us were trying to go for.
Cool. It was neat.
Which is always interesting and fascinating to a young fan. Metallica was always transparent throughout to this day. They always put out good docs and show you what's going on behind the scenes. And that's really cool. That and their music just got me so hooked. I was in.
Yeah, I've always been into that, man.
Yeah, me too.
Always been into that.
Yeah.
But we you get along for the most part, only years later when you've been on the road up each other's butts for like 2 years straight,
right.
Minus a few days or a week here and there, break or whatever. But for the most part, you're out there,
What was the, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, when you guys, you mentioned the crew actually being on the bus as well. Did you have a separate rig for all of your gear, or was that something? I know you guys had to have gotten to the point where you had
I'm sure you had trucks.
Huge gear, and you had different trucks that were carrying all that.
Yeah, usually a baby band or just a mediocre, or not mediocre, but mid-level, non-baby band, non-super famous, band. For the most part, you have a bus or two. Okay. And one of those buses or both of them are pulling a trailer, pretty big, trailer.
Yeah.
Now, when Back Into Your System came around and the song Always, was number one hit in all 3 rock formats across the board. When that came out and after that did what it did, we went to 2 buses and a tractor trailer, a couple tractor trailers for the equipment and stage gear and
bigger crew.
Crew got a bus. Yeah, we had our bus. Crew had their bus.
That must have been helpful to have a little more space.
It was nice. Yeah. Yeah, it was nice, man. It was we were living the dream,
Oh, I'm sure it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of work though.
Yeah. So let's talk about all the work when it comes to albums. So you have, what's the saying? You have 10 years to write your first album. And then they want you to start churning them out.
Yeah, then you have your whole life to write the first album.
Yeah.
The material, the ideology, the emotions into that first album. Then you got 6 months to write everything else.
It was that quick a turnaround?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we with us particularly, I wanted to kind of emulate Kiss in a way, in the way they did things. Because if you look back at Kiss, how did they stay? I mean, of course, it was a different time, and media was different, and there was no internet. But there was a lot of mystery to bands back then. So you can really push that. You can give that long legs to a project or a band. Kiss would always put out a record like at least once a year.
Yeah.
Right. And I always thought that was really cool, and I think that really helps a band stay in front of things.
And it gives you reason to tour, and you have a new thing to tour on.
Exactly. And if you do happen to have a not so great record or whatever, every band is allowed that one record. From what I've understood in the industry, from labels, every band is allowed one okay record.
Yeah.
And if you're putting out something like that once a year, then that helps also.
Redemption is around the corner.
Right. Yeah. Just get back in there and have at it.
And put another one out there, and they'll forget about that one.
Yeah. Redemption.
So what was the writing process like for your sophomore album?
Oh, wow. We went to Bearsville, New York, which is basically Woodstock. The original Woodstock. It's upstate New York, the Adirondack Mountains, forest. We were in some cabins. We went to it's a studio called Bearsville, and REM and what's that other band that was recording up there? Something. Big bands. I can't remember.
Matchbox?
Matchbox 20. Thank you. I almost said 21 or something, but Matchbox 20. Yeah. They were there in the next studio while we were working in our studio during that record, and we'd always see each other, from across the way. We didn't go hang out or talk or nothing, but like I said, everybody's kind of just keeping to their own. But they're
Saliva and REM hanging out. That's an interesting
Matchbox 20, yeah.
Well, that's it. It wasn't both.
That's where all Bearsville is where all the records were done for REM.
I got you.
But during that time we were there, Matchbox 20 was there.
Gotcha. But that's still an interesting hang.
Yeah. So you've got mountains, you got rocks, you got trees everywhere. It's literally in the mountains of the Adirondacks and upstate. And
does that help with interrupt things to jar your concentration, and that way you just get out there and a little more free?
It does. It helps. You've already got them before you go into a major studio. You've already got this. You've mainly got the songs picked out, and most of the arrangements are pretty.
So you were writing on the road for album one?
Always writing.
So it's just ideas pop up, and you're demoing, and
mostly you keep it up here in your noodle.
Really?
If you're smart, you'll record it or jot it down. Not saying I'm smart, but you have to, hell, your answering machine at home. Josie and we would do that all the time. You get an idea or a riff or a melody, you have no way to record it or keep it. Just call your home or your phone and spit it on the answering machine, and
that's classic, man.
Come back to it.
Now you just pull up your little voice memo on your phone.
Yeah.
You got everything you need in your phone now. But
that's how Click Click Boom melody and hook came up, I'm pretty sure.
To a voicemail?
I think it was saved to a voicemail at Josie's his mother's house, his home. But he had a dream. I know he was dreaming at that time. I was like, a lot of times musicians will get really cool melodies and bits of music through the dream state, while they're dreaming, REM or whatever state. And we were doing that, that was happening to us, and it happens, I'm sure, to every musician or even non-musicians. They get this, melody, and usually it'll wake them up, but then they'll go back to sleep and forget about it and lose it. So we kind of pushed ourselves to have a notepad or a recorder next to our bed. And whenever that happened,
just capture it.
Just capture it,
immediately.
Because you're not going to remember it. It's like dew, in the morning.
Yeah.
The more the sun comes up, the more it just disappears.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's like. I mean, from metaphor state, but.
So the sophomore album is every 6 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to.
No. The first major label is every 6 seconds.
Oh, so back into your system.
Back into your system. Yeah. That's the one with Josie holding the boombox on the front of the cover.
Yeah.
And that we filmed that in Chinatown up in New York.
So who produced album 2, and were they pretty liberal on letting y'all do your thing, or was there ever a moment where they were trying to change you?
There's always a give and take. Bob Marlette. It was always Bob Marlette. He was, in my opinion, he's the 6th member of the original Saliva, the real Saliva.
As a producer should be, right?
Yeah. Just like you look at Linkin Park and the guy that was with them all the time. He was considered their additional member. But Bob Marlette is his name. He's in California. Amazing songwriter. Guy is like super talented, and he's super cool, man. Super cool. Kind of looks like. The guy the main guy in The Big Lebowski, what I'm talking about, with the beard,
the one with the
dude,
drinking the White Russians,
yeah. That's what he's like, dude. You see, that's like if you were standing next to the dude or hanging out with the dude, you would be same comparison, same vibe.
So how long were y'all in the studio for that one?
Usually. For a major label record, you're usually there for a few months, anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Cool. Are they coming in periodically to listen to and giving
if they give a shit about you, they will.
And then giving you comments, critiquing, maybe changes?
Well, the label does. The label hires the producer, and I'm sure whatever conversations they have between them is between them and management and whatnot. And then they kind of dictate that, or maybe not even say anything about it at all. They just kind of, direct. That's what a producer is. Mm-hmm. He takes something that's good and he makes it great. Yeah. That's the job of a producer. And kind of a director too. They just like to direct. They're natural directors.
So it sounds like a positive experience.
Oh yeah, dude, I love it. That's one of the biggest things I miss. The biggest thing I miss is performing. That whole connection and that passion and that energy, and it's really a big release. Music recording, video shoots, and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
So Wrestlemania 18. Now we need to geek out about some wrestling. I think it was 2004, 3, right? I looked it up. So, but where in it is it during this album, Back Into Your System, or where does it sit there?
It's during that record.
Okay, so clearly that record comes out, and you guys are making waves in order to get that gig, right? So, how did it come to the table for y'all?
When we first got with our guys in New York, the label, we kind of made it known very early that, we're all from Memphis, Tennessee, and from the South and all that, and so we grew up, we're steeped in professional wrestling product. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of made it known that, hey, we really want to put out an olive branch out there to, WWF at the time. It was WWF. And they were just starting to cross over into WWE name change. Mm-hmm. And, they're both in New York. Our label, WWE, they're all there. They probably all fucking know each other, Vince McMahon, Leo Cohen, and all that shit. Mm-hmm. We'd like to work with them, and we'll do whatever it takes to be their band. And they took us up on it.
That's awesome. Look at that. If you would have never spoken up, we
may have gotten a show or something, but we wouldn't have been like we were. No, we had a really good working relationship.
Did you meet Vince?
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I met the whole family, dude. All of them. Yeah, Vince, Linda McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, right. And I just had the son's name. What's his name?
Shane,
thank you.
Thank you.
How did I do that? I'm not even the wrestling geek in this room.
Did you meet Hulk Hogan and The Rock? That was the main event there?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Met all of them. Was friends with Lita and the Hardy Boys for like on a personal level. You know, me and Lita struck up a friendship, you know, for several years, and would just talk. And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm in this part of town," or "Oh, I'm in this state," and you know, we would all hook up. And she was dating Matt Hardy, so I mean, it was completely platonic.
Yeah.
At any point, did you smell what The Rock was cooking?
The Rock, I tell you, man, dude, yeah, he's very, you know, he comes in when they come in, man, you can feel the air shift, you know. The professional wrestlers, that whole organization is some of the most friendliest, open-hearted, welcoming but professional business I've ever seen or been around, had the pleasure of being a part of. Just absolutely professional, 100%.
Yeah, well, I mean,
does that mean they don't party? You know,
yeah, for
afterward?
Sure.
No.
Well, I mean, Vince has stood the test of time, you know, and still to this day, he's not as involved. But to do what he did, you know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I think wrestlers in general, because they're independent contractors, that, you know, they have issues with each other, but they're all like brothers, like a brotherhood. Like we gotta be cool and maintain and get out there and perform together and tell a story.
Exactly. You're right. It's a lot like a band touring. Really. Yeah. They take their show on the road. You know, and all their wrestlers are their racehorses. You know, or the company's racehorses. In the music industry, it's, you know, you've got all these bands. Those are racehorses themselves. And you know, of course, there's going to be some hiccups here or there, but for the most part, you know, we all bunk with each other. You know, we all like share hotel rooms or whatever. They may beat the shit out of each other, and it's real. I mean, the pain and the beating is real.
Oh, for sure,
no question.
Know? Oh yeah, I never call it fake. Yeah. I hate it when people call it fake. I mean, it's predetermined, it's storyline, but these jokers are just
they're
putting their body through some serious shit.
They have to be at the top of their athletic ability and game to be able to do what they're asked to do.
They're like live stunt actors in the round in front of 20,000 people, and you don't get a second take.
And they're so professional; they can rewrite stuff on the fly.
Oh yeah.
Like I was watching them rehearse. You know, like before, like at the Wrestlemania 18 thing. I would watch them kind of just rehearse, and they would just get up. A couple of them would just get up there in the ring and be like, "Okay, you know, whoop 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 whoop. Okay, you do this, I'm gonna do that," and then boom. Yeah. All right, see you tonight.
Yeah, working out the finish. We'll fill the rest in.
Yeah. So.
What was it like on a band front as far as what's it like to load in and set up and sound check? What kind of system did they have for that?
For for
that performance,
man, all that shit is like beyond my pay grade, man. I mean, I can answer that question, but when we get there, it's all set up.
It's already done.
But we use our equipment. We get there, you know, our crew, our guys load up and set up our shit like we've always been setting up our shit in the last.
Yeah, because if anyone hasn't seen it, they gave you the entire end of the arena where the wrestlers walk out of. I mean, you got the whole thing, massive LED screen above y'all's setting. I mean, it was. Dude, you weren't off to the corner. They gave you a production.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, just go search it out. Wrestlemania 18 Saliva. It is one hell of a production.
Yeah,
I mean, it is,
and the mix is great too.
Yeah. It's unreal.
So we start off, I mean, it's, you know, you've got the lady who does the very beginning. This is WrestleMania 18, blah, 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 and introducing Saliva, Island Def Jam recording artist, Saliva. And then we open up, you know, the whole event and like do a half a song or a full song. You know, they're doing the background. And then either we do another song or they come back and they start the wrestling. And then throughout the whole 3 or 4 hour event, we come out and do play certain songs.
Gotcha.
Now we made it known to them that we wanted that we were open to being written in any scripts they wanted to.
Nice.
Any events. So
have you practiced your flat back bump, Chris DaBaldo?
No, but I do. I will tell you that when they slap, when they slap,
chop.
Yeah. When they do that. We had a good friend who was a trainer, Tim Ash, I believe, and he was one of the wrestler trainers there at that time. And we were hanging out at his house or something, going to pick something up. And one night, and I said, "Man, I always wondered what that felt like." He goes, "You want me to?" He goes, I'm like, "Yeah, dude. I do want to feel it." And he read back and did that, and it was like, bam, dude. I was like, "Oh shit, dude!" Heart.
That's a sting, man.
And he goes, and I didn't lay into it, like I could have.
Yeah.
Like, I know. Trust me, I know. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was badass.
Ric Flair was one of his moves was the chop, the backhand chop across the chest, and you just see the guy's chest get all red.
Yeah,
and it has a pop to it. There's no faking that. You are getting a hand slapped across your chest.
Yeah, I mean, that could stop your heart if you're not, trained for. If you're not in shape
or
for that kind
they miss and hit you right in the Adam's apple.
Yeah.
Throat punch.
Yeah.
Throat punch is right. So how'd you feel about the performances, but yours specifically? What was your sound like? Were you playing this amazing thing, but like, man, I can't hear myself in the mix and all the same bullshit that you always get?
Well, that answer is connected to, I was cool with my performance and the whole thing, but I hadn't been to sleep yet, I don't even know if the whole band had been asleep yet, but because we have like early 5:45, 6 a.m. Stage call or camera call where you have to be camera ready, like make full, what you're going to wear, what you're, everything. 6 a.m. But the night before is kind of a story on its own. I was hanging out with Lita and the Hardy Boys and Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy and a bunch of other wrestlers, and they had a big shindig that night.
Oh, they were partiers.
Yeah, well, yeah. Especially who I was hanging out with. But we didn't know that. I mean, I knew that they would. They're for the most part they're clean compared to rock guys.
Yeah. Well, Jeff Hardy has had a lot of addiction issues. For sure.
Yeah. He did, and I actually taught him how. I know is he playing music now? Because during that night, I showed him how to write some songs and put some songs together on the guitar.
Notice Jeff went to the phone.
Our next interview.
That means he can't talk wrestling.
Okay, I'm back now.
And if he's looking at the phone or the laptop and you're talking, you sound like the teacher from the Charlie Brown show.
Hey,
and he's not paying attention.
Just with Sarah Spain, I have to give her my attention when she says she's on her way.
Sarah Spain from Landslide coming in after you. But
man, I hadn't been to sleep, which is no big deal. We're used to that, We'd go days without sleeping if we had to, and you still have to, bring that 100%. But it wasn't just that, I was severely impaired, I should say. It was, and it wasn't my doing. Okay. It was, something was kind of snuck. Didn't realize, it was just, it was
Stephanie McMahon trying to take advantage of you.
No, but she was kind of flirty, and she was good looking too. But there's Triple H standing over there.
Right.
Dude. What are you going to do, right?
Yeah. I think they were an item by then.
Yeah,
I think so.
And Triple H was cool. I met his little nephew and stuff that night. But no, we were, we were pushing it. Put it that way. As far as rest and being
running on adrenaline.
Yeah, dude. I turned 3 shades of green the night before. Just it was pretty crazy.
You're like, why now?
No, it is what it is. You just take it and you deal with it, and try not to let anything show. I mean, I wasn't sick during the next day from 6 a.m. on, but you have that greasy feeling like a greasy pork sandwich in a dirty ashtray. Just that you're on the edge of like a big hurl.
Dirty ashtray with pork. That's quite the vision.
Weird science.
So Survival of the Sickest. So that's the next one, right?
Yeah.
And your last one. All right.
Yeah.
So let's hit that album, and then I'd love to, learn more about how you left, why you left, story behind that.
We started that album off at God, I can't remember the name of the studio off the top of my head, but it was in Maine. It was up in Maine. Nice. And it was a famous studio, and it was like on a farm.
I bet all of your albums were mastered in Maine at a place called Gateway. That everyone used to master it. That guy, Bob Ludwig.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
No, our very first one was done by Sterling. Something Sterling. He's famous. Same with Ludwig. Same era, same genre. In New York, and it just depends. You can get them mastered just about anywhere now.
Yeah, but a lot of people were coming to Maine for that guy. It's crazy, But so you recorded your fourth album. Your fourth album in Maine.
Yeah, in Maine. We started it off there, and we were using a different producer than Bob Marlette, and so it was different. It was things were different. The band, I think, I can only speak for myself, but emotionally and intellectually, it kind of wasn't 100%. I had a lot of things going on, and but we were there and we were going to make the best of it. So I actually liked that record a lot. But so we ended up leaving Maine and deciding to do the album in Memphis at the producer's studio in Memphis.
Okay.
We figured we could, because by that time, you don't see your family a whole lot. You're trying to live with your family a little bit, and you're like, you're not separated by half the country, and
trying to find some balance, as best you can.
Yeah, and my wife was knocked out. It was my first child. Yeah, our first child, my only child, and so it was like I said, intellectually and emotionally, it was a trying period, because all the other guys in the band, they all had kids, not all of them, but most of them had kids, 2, 3 kids, Right. I'd never had that, I waited my whole life and career to get to this certain points before ever doing that. And me and Amy got married in 2003. And we were married for, 1 year, and we decided, okay, let's do this. Let's have a baby. And we started having a baby, and, she was knocked up. And, it's just...
to put it lightly.
I don't, how does, you have kids, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I have one.
You remember that first one, that first baby? And it's like, you go through I'm not speaking about the woman. I'm speaking about the father. You go through like a chemical or emotional change or something. It's like
instincts take in.
Yeah, you get like uber protective.
Yeah, and
you start. I know some people call it nesting or something like that, where you're.
Well, my kid forced me to get my shit together.
Yeah,
it gives you a great reason to.
Yeah, before. Exactly. And that's what kids are good for doing.
Yeah, straighten you out.
Yeah. So during that time, it was interesting. So we came back to Memphis and we did that. That record's done. It's in the can. And then during that time, Josie was wanting to do some acting and stuff, which is cool. I always supported that.
That's right. He was in a show. Someone asked me to ask you this. What was the name of the show that he was in? He was in a television show, correct?
Yeah, he was. He was in part of a series. He was also in Hustle and Flow. He was the gas station.
Yes,
the corner store guy.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was selling weed or something behind the counter. And he tells dude, "You better watch yourself." What was the name of that show? That TV show?
I don't know.
Wanted or no? I can't remember.
Yeah, I didn't think to look it up.
Sorry, Josie.
And sorry, Jimmy Fault, for asking me, not getting the right answer for you.
It was something like Wanted or something.
Okay.
But I mean, my point is, I've always supported and really wanted to help him, do that. Cause I we would always talk about that. Me and him, when we watched movies and stuff, we would just like really pick it apart and actors and scripts and stuff like that. We were into that. We had a knack for that. I didn't personally want to be an actor or nothing like that, but I knew he did. And so, I used to help him rehearse his lines and stuff like that. All of us did. So it was just a timing where we came off of that record. It wasn't our strongest record, and I wanted to get right back into it and get together. And people were starting to move away to different states. People weren't living. I was like the only one left living in Memphis anymore. So now you've got to deal with that, things like that. They add up, and then you get into like a heated argument or something on a conference call. And that's just the only catalyst, you need. You got, like I said, you're emotionally in a different place because you've got a kid coming and that's new to you,
You get more distractions as you guys grow up and have families.
It's something I can't really explain. I can only explain it when I look back on it now. I didn't know what was happening at that time. What my mind and changes that we're going through. But you get upset and you make a snap decision. Which I did. And I said, fuck it, I quit,
What was the final straw? What made this?
May 29th, 2005? Yeah, May 29th. Like I said, the catalyst, the final straw was like, we were on a conference call and the last thing I remember, I don't want to put anybody's business out there, and it's it's in the past or whatever. But the catalyst, like you said, the straw was the conversation we were having was, last I remember, is the acting thing was going to take the band off the road for possibly up to 2 years.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And and normally I would not let that affect me because it's like, well, if it happens,
right.
you can't, you don't want to predict hell, I might even be alive tomorrow,
right.
That kind of thing. But after coming off a record that wasn't every 6 seconds or back into your system, you have that extra urgency to get right back in it and not let that momentum die.
And you don't want to hear that we might be off the road for 2 years.
Not then.
So that really kills all momentum.
Sure.
It has the potential. It has the potential. Yeah. But for me, as far as that moment, it sent me over the edge, and some other words were transpired. Weren't really band related, but I just said, fuck it, I quit.
But obviously, I mean, we know from talking to you off the air, you and Josie still have a relationship. You guys are good. Yes. Everything's cool. So it's not like this was a relationship ending type thing.
No, so, I mean, well, for a while it was.
Sure.
God bless his son, Cody. May he rest in peace. He passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
In that zone, in that affliction zone. To his credit, he's always been the sweetest of the sweetest, super heart, superhero, super gentle guy, and everybody who knows him knows that too. But he's like a little spitting image of Josie.
Right.
That's his first child, his first boy, his first son.
Sure.
I'd seen the kid grow up from a grasshopper. He's I know the kid. He was graduating high school, and so me and Josie didn't speak for like 7 years. We didn't talk. Nothing.
And was it based from the acting? Taking time off, or by this time, is there just those little things that are building up?
It wasn't really, we weren't not talking because of what led up to the point where I said, fuck it, and called the label and the A&R guy and said, I'm quitting.
Right.
And he goes, are you sure you want to do this? Think about this. And I'm like, at that time I was still fuming. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I don't care. You know? So that's, we weren't talking and stuff because I left,
Sure.
I'm sure he was pissed at me and, stuff like that. And the other guys were probably too. And they were like, fuck it, better off without him, probably or something. But that's all I know. I only know my side, of it.
But his son is integral in the reconnection.
Yeah. So he's graduating high school, and he sends me an invitation to come to his graduation. I believe it was in Mississippi or North, may have been around here, North Mississippi. And said, cool, I'm not going to miss that. So I go, and lo and behold, Josie and Kendra, his wife, and their new baby, and they're there, and we're all sitting in the bleachers in this little high school, fucking Mississippi basketball court gym.
Right.
And it was like we never missed a day apart,
Yeah, you guys were forced to say hello, and
Cody knew what he was doing, man.
Yeah.
He always knew how to do stuff like that, and he did it. And I was like, I see what you did there, Very, very slick, very clever, but very, very good. Very thank you.
And
that's an awesome story. And I've seen Josie post on Facebook about Cody and the fact that he had passed. And if I'm not mistaken, it was COVID related.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's I've seen those posts, and
that's tragic.
It's great that you bring him up in this light to show what an amazing kid he was.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm sure you're so grateful because now you have a good relationship with the old friend.
Right? Yeah. We stayed in touch ever since then, and would hang out, and he would pass through town, and we'd go have lunch or whatever, and just stayed in touch for. I would stay in touch with the other guys. Off and on, here and there, like Paul Crosby, Wayne Swinney, Dave, we would all talk. We wouldn't like hang out or anything like that, but, they moved forward. They did, they kept doing whatever they did. I'm the kind of guy, I don't really pay attention to, like if I'm not in a group anymore, no matter how much it's me, and I've got, I've even got the name tattooed in my skin, the size of my fucking arm.
Right.
I don't keep up with what they do, you know? It's kind of like, you break up with a girlfriend or a wife, it's kind of common for the people who aren't together anymore to keep up with each other and stalk each other on Facebook or whatever.
Right.
I never did that, man. I don't know if it's because it was just too painful or it was too traumatic or what, but I never did that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, a huge part of your life was spent with these guys, and I mean, I can see that if you're moving on to other things, and you just kind of put it in the rearview mirror. It doesn't mean there's anger. It doesn't mean there's, anything like that. It's just you're going a different direction.
Just move on.
Yeah. It's a common thing with relationships and bands and stuff. You've got David Lee Roth and all those, you can name a million bands that went through the same thing. Lucky for them, though, they had two guitar players. So, and it was Wayne Swinney, so they don't really need a backup guitar player. I mean, it sounds better for recording. It's bigger, it's thicker. It's probably funner to watch live. Yeah. Unless you're just a stick in the mud and just stands there and play that. But that's not me.
That was not you. I will say that right out there because you were a hell of a performer.
For your last episode, I was digging through pictures of you, and man, you just mouth wide open, all over the place, everybody.
That's the time to do it, man. It's very therapeutical, man. You have rages, you have micro rages and micro angers and stuff like that within you that you don't even realize you have, And you go to a concert, and whether you're in the audience watching it and releasing that, or you're on stage giving it, you're still releasing it. You're giving it it's always the same, man. That's why I connect with audiences so much.
So I want to bridge to post Saliva here, but I am interested in one last thing.
Sure.
What is it like when you leave a major label band in terms of, because now you're in essence business partners,
it's traumatic.
Part owners.
It's fucking life changing.
You got to get lawyers. How does that work? And then how does it work when it comes to your continued royalties? I mean, do you give up anything?
That's why you have a publishing deal separate from
the publishing deal doesn't change.
No, the publishing deal, what you write, what you contribute. Like I said, we did it in percentages. Whether it's 25% of the music, or 10%, or 50%, or 100%. You could write all the music and get 100% of that composition. That's separate from vocal, from lyrical, though.
Okay.
singers, man, they got it so good, man. That 50% of the pie is automatically lyrics. So if the singer is writing lyrics, then he automatically gets that 50.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that all stays intact, even if you say fuck it, throat punch somebody
till the end of time, or unless somebody tries to steal it or ends up stealing it, or you get fucked off,
or you sell it. You can sell it.
You can sell it. Yeah.
So all these major acts are selling this shit for millions.
Stupid.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's unless you're broke and you're desperate. Even if I was, I wouldn't do that. But that's just me. But yeah, to answer your question, no, there's no lawyers or anything involved per se. You leave, and that's you have all this shit that you have to go pick up and round up. You've got all your equipment that you didn't think about. That's in a storage facility somewhere in Memphis in the hood, and you still got to go and ask your buddy to help you go get it out, and you lose a lot of shit. Put it that way, but it's traumatic, man. It's emotionally. It's very traumatic.
What a massive special part of your life that you're walking away from. Did you ever have second thoughts?
I never sat back and just was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Probably moments, but the way I did, I think I may have said the way I did it. I try not to be emotional when making a decision. Making an important decision or a snap judgment or a knee-jerk reaction, that's what I try not to do. And that's exactly what I did at that time. I was still growing. I was still
this
immature.
Has been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're totally not the same person now that you were then.
No. Yeah.
20 years is a long time to mature and change and grow.
You would hope.
Some coming off the road, you got, you still probably have chemicals floating around in your system. You're not.
You got to reacclimate.
Yeah,
you're a civilian now, right?
Yeah, and it was hard. It was hard. I'll be the first to tell you, it was very, very hard to. I went straight back into doing shit jobs and stuff like that, labor jobs or whatever, warehouses or whatever. But it's you can't go anywhere. Because once you're at that place, everywhere you go, people are always asking you and bringing stuff up.
Sure.
And, hey, how's so-and-so? And hey, tell so-and-so to call me.
Right.
So it's like living that nightmare every day.
You can't get away from it.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah. Constantly being reminded.
And we gave you 20 years before we started asking questions.
Yes, you did.
And we appreciate it. So let's use this opportunity now. Bridge to your next project.
Yep.
God, years go by. It's like 2008 or something like that, and I'm doing. I'm a stonemason, so I work with granite and quartz and marble and shit like that.
Sure.
And I've been doing that for probably since 2007, 2006. So I left in 2005. By 2008, my buddy Mike Glenn, who owns the Daisy and ran the Daisy for all my career, he calls me up and he said, "Hey, the boys in Egypt Central, who are friends of ours, they have a tour they need to do, and they were wondering if you could, if you'd be interested in filling the spot, playing guitar, second guitar." Rhythm guitar for them so they can go out and make money on this tour and, knock this tour out. I said, yeah, fuck it. I'll do it. And although we were friends and I knew that they were really huge regionally and arguably around the world and stuff, but, definitely, absolutely in Memphis, I knew that their shit was really good. And, but I'd never listened. I'm not a big music listener. I'm really not. I like rap. I like hip hop. I like dirty South hip hop. I like certain types. I like all types of music, but I listen to certain types of music,
Sure.
But I don't just when I get in my car, well, at least since 2005, I don't listen to a lot of music.
Yeah.
But when I get in my car and drive around like most people, I don't turn the fucking radio on.
Yeah.
I don't pop in a band or nothing. I just don't. I don't know why. I'm just burnt, just whatever. Fuck it. I don't care. But I know I know what I'm hearing when I hear it, and I know when something's good. But I don't just sit around and listen. There's no need,
Right.
What's the point, So
by this time you feel like you've been away from it enough to jump back into something
now?
No. This story with the band that took you out.
No, Egypt. It was kind of a favor, to some friends.
How long did it last? Was it one tour? Was it longer than that?
We did a North American tour, America and Canada, with Disturbed. We were supporting Disturbed. Great guys.
Nice.
Phenomenal band. Phenomenal gentlemen. So yeah, I did 4 months, 4 and something months.
Okay.
And when I first started, so I had to get their record and learn it real quick because like I said, I didn't know their record.
Mm-hmm.
I knew a few of their songs and their big hits, from like being around them and watching them, but I never watched them play a full set or anything like that. So I didn't know their pattern. I didn't know their shtick, on stage.
Right.
I knew they were impressing people. That's all I knew. And I knew that they were friends. So I agreed to do it. And I learned, I tried to cram that whole album in a few days and did that as far as I know, to my best of my ability and memory. Did that. Went out there, had a great tour, kicked a lot of ass.
Cool.
And that was it.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then we've got Evolve Through Scars.
Evolve Through Scars, yeah. So after Egypt Central, I was like totally done. I was like, fuck this. I'm not, because, I kind of left with a bad taste in my mouth,
I understand.
from that whole thing. But, I lost, there were certain equipments that came up, stolen from, because there was nobody, keeping an eye on it. Not saying anybody in the band did anything like that. Right. They didn't. They were great. But like I said, I didn't know their show,
There's not a musician on earth that hasn't said, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah.
We've all done it. So
that's the route I wanted to go. By then, my son was like probably 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. I'm trying to honor being a father and a husband. I'm working just the granite thing and whatnot. Yeah. And so a few years go by, I guess, and you'd have to look at the back of that record and find out what year that came out, because we were probably together maybe 3-4 years or something like that. But
if my eyes aren't playing tricks on me, it's 2012.
2012, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so a couple of years off go by, and John Horn reaches out to me. He's from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Okay.
He's known in those parts for his music and his bands over the years. Great guy. His father, Michael Horn, great guy too. Such a sweet guy. He's a FedEx pilot, man. I miss that guy. I should reach out to him. But yeah, great guy. So he calls me up and says, hey, man, we need to get together. We need to do this, So I gave him a few of my songs that I had written, but just I had laying around, and he loved them. We wanted to put them, I'm like, man, at first I was like, no, I'm not, I don't want to do it, Nothing against you. I just don't want to go down that road again. I'm done with bands. I'm done with trusting. It's hard enough to be in a marriage and trust, that one person, that husband or wife that you're with. Trusting five people, a 5-way marriage, then you got, that's not even including drugs or ego or anything like that.
Sure.
Those are all factors that rack it up tremendously. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And eventually, dude, if anybody knows John Horn, he can sell an Ice Cube to an Eskimo, right? I mean, the guy's a salesman. He really is. He's charming. He's a salesman. He's a great singer, great front man. But he was, that's one thing he could do, man. He could really change your mind.
Yeah.
And along with Brian Kirk from Jackson, Tennessee, that sweetened it a lot, because Brian's a sweetheart and he's a badass and he's very underrated. The guy deserves way more than he's ever gotten recognition-wise. The guy's a fucking monster. And a straight arrow too, salt of the earth type guy. Doesn't do no drugs or no bullshit. Brian Kirk, man. So I eventually say, okay, fuck it, let's do it. So we did that, and we had a good time. We made a record here.
Nice.
And you were nice enough to bring us some CDs and sign them for us.
Sure.
Very cool. Yeah. Alex, go throw to Jeff's camera. Look at that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's something there other than
Kevin Johnson did all the artwork.
Nice.
All the artwork that's through there is Kevin Johnson at Ramsey's Shadow Tattoos.
And there you are, yelling.
Yeah, of course.
On the back.
Chris is the most tamed person on the shot of the band.
It's crazy, man. And it's sad because John is no longer with us. May his soul rest in peace. This is Brian Kirk right here. This is Justin Perez, one of the best drummers I've ever fucking played with in my life, hands down. This is Bo Littlejohn. He's passed away, and John's passed away.
Wow.
Brian Kirk still lives in Jackson. This guy lives in Lafayette, Louisiana. He's playing with, he's got a bunch of projects, but he's active. He's out there in the scene. So we put this record together, and we go to Atlanta, which is Frank Beato or Kevin, what is his name? Beato. Beato was the producer, famous producer, did oh fuck, man. Sorry, my memory. Cross, what's that band? Cross something?
What was his first name?
Crossfade, thank you.
What was his first name, the producer?
Rick Beato. I think it's Rick.
Yes, I thought I heard that correctly. I love Rick Beato. He's got a great channel now.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got an amazing, massive channel.
That's him.
So what was
Rick Beato?
Man, I wish we had more time because we have someone coming up in the studio that.
Right.
Go ahead, and Jeff, text her and tell her we're going to be a little late, but. Fuck, man. Well, we'll have you in season 4. How about that?
Yeah.
You're just a recurring guest at this point.
That's fine. I'm a revolving door. So, yeah, we did that. We recorded that with Rick Beato in Atlanta. And we ended up with Creed's old manager. And we got signed to fucking Warner Brothers, man. He signed us.
You jumped in, and now you're right back to a world that you were trying to get away from.
Yeah. Right. But what are you going to do, man? It's, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Right.
Sure.
It's rock and roll. But, yeah, so we got an independent deal through Warner Brothers, which is ultimately Warner Brothers. And, Cleo Cohen was there too. Stu Bergen and stuff like that. But, after a year or two or something, I asked him to tear it up, said, take us out of that contract. And he did. But we did. We signed it and whatever. And it was just one of those things where the industry was changing a lot. There was talk of all these different deals and stuff out there. And that wasn't, I didn't want to take the chance of getting locked in on something that I didn't know too much about.
Because then it becomes a long-term deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just starting to see some things. I was starting to see some cracks, and
things you recognize, like, oh, I know what this is gonna do. I know where this is heading.
Yeah. It not excluding myself, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and career, but I did ask him to cancel it, to tear it up. But we were signed to Warner Brothers too. Universal and Warner Brothers.
So before we wrap up, because we have no choice, unfortunately, but what does the future hold with you musically? Are you back into it? Are you
any chances of reunions?
I don't know.
With Josie?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Not doubt
but
it.
yeah, back to Jeff.
Well, we get Josie in
now?
here and start talking to him. Who knows what kind of magic we could work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always willing, if I'm real picky about who I play with.
Sure.
There's only.
So you're not playing right now at all?
No. I mean,
any desire to?
It depends.
If the situation was right.
Yeah, it always,
like with me and Jeff, you want to start a band?
Sure. I mean, the desire is always there. It's just, I have to be very, very picky about who the singer is, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And after doing a few things, you know, what works. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I like to stick with what works, what's been proven to work. But, you know, if that, you know, anything in the future, who the fuck knows? Right. You know, I'm game, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Sure.
You know?
Well, that's what I was getting at. Are you open to it? You know, because there are just like you've already had times in your life where you said, I am done, not interested. Yeah. But at least we know that if the right situation presents itself,
the right person,
might see Chris DaBaldo out there again. So that'd be awesome.
I would do it. Sure.
Let us know for sure.
Cool.
Right on.
Chris, thank you, man.
Thank you.
2 full episodes. We do appreciate it. It's the first time we do that.
Yeah.
And your time, you're very generous with your time, and we enjoyed getting to know you and thank you for letting us just ask any question that
no problem.
went into areas that were probably a little sensitive.
Hey, that helps me. It helps me heal, you know. It's therapeutical.
Thank you, Amy, for showing up. Yeah. Good to meet you. Yes.
And you guys make sure to tell Ryder that we're always asking about him.
Do you want to make an appearance real quick?
Come on in here.
Yeah. Everyone meet Amy DaBaldo.
Right there.
Go. The better half, right?
Sweet.
That's right.
Keeping Chris in line.
Yeah. It's a full-time job. Somebody's got to do it.
You know.
Cool.
You know it.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed our very first episode of the new season. Again, thanks to Chris DaBaldo for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Therhythmsectionpod.com. That's your mainstay. We're on Facebook, Instagram,
everywhere.
Yeah, go check it out. Go see a band.
Yeah. I mean, support local music. That's what we're here to do. And
y'all do a great job, by the way.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. So, but you know, it's artists like you that what makes this podcast do its thing.
And I kept my word. I told y'all we'd run it by Josie and let him know.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And he likes y'all.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Y'all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to clip that out.
He says y'all are very cool and he likes what y'all do. So
nice.
We're working on it.
Oh, let's do it, man.
Let's do it. All right,
y'all. Thanks for hanging out.
See you next time.
Have a good day.